1051 FM.
Aloha there. This is City Talks with Reuben Abati on City 105.1 FM. And this is our maiden edition. And today we have a very special guest for you. We'll be doing this every Saturday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday. And today we've invited to discuss national issues of interest, issues that affect you directly, issues that concern us as citizens and as leaders in Nigeria. And our guest is a man you know very well. He has been governor 2 times in Anambra State. He's been vice presidential candidate in the 2019 general elections on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. He's a man who has been greatly honored in terms of his achievements in the area of leadership and governance. He's been called Man of the Year. He's been called the most prudent governor in the history of Nigeria, Nigeria's most trustworthy governor, we've been told. He's also a winner of the Zik Leadership Prize, and he's also been honored for his outstanding achievements in leadership and governance. He's a very devoted Catholic, but above all, he's a multi-talented personality, a trader, a politician, a businessman, and in every area in which he has applied himself, he has distinguished himself. And it is for that reason that his kinsmen in the southeastern part of Nigeria refer to him as Okute. Okute means the rock, the stone, a man of formidable ability. So there is Peter the Apostle, which you must know very well if you are a Christian. But the Peter that is going to be our guest on this show, this maiden edition of City Talks with Reuben Abati, is Peter the Rock, Peter Okute, Peter Gregory Obi. I'm sure by now you know him very well. He's a banker, he's a businessman, he's a trader. He's as much at home in the commanding heights of the economy in boardrooms as he is in the stalls at Daleko Market or in Alaba Market or anywhere else. He's a man of immense qualifications. We'll just take a quick break, and then when we return, we'll have our guests join us to address topical issues of national interest, from fuel price increase to electricity tariffs hike and other issues that you yourself are probably thinking about.
City 1051 FM.
Governor of Anambra State, former vice presidential candidate in the 2019 general elections, Mr. Peter Gregory Obi. You are welcome to the program, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, very quickly, I would like to start with a very topical issue. Well, 2 issues in actual fact. The Trade Union Congress and 79 other civil society organizations have served notice that they will go on strike or declare a national day of action next week as a result of the announcement by PPMC and the Petroleum Prices Regulation Agency that the pump price of fuel has now gone up. And you know that the pump price of fuel is indexed to the spot price of crude oil in the international market. And many Nigerians are objecting to this, including the labor unions. But is there something that government should have done that it has not done? Because government has made it clear, as far back as April, that, look, there will be a deregulation of the downstream sector. Not just deregulation, market forces will determine the pump price of petrol. But now it's as if there's some problem of communication between government and the various stakeholders. And then, of course, we've also had the electricity tariffs being increased in line with the World Bank recommendation that there should be service-reflective tariffs within the electricity sector. And I thought government had communicated this, but it looks like there is a crisis. Is there something government should do that it has not done? And is this price increases in the electricity sector, in the downstream sector, inevitable?
Look, they are inevitable, but at the same time, some things that are inevitable should also have time constraints in them. I believe in market forces. I believe in the regulation. But the timing should also be right for it. You have to look at other indices when you take such action. You have to look at other effects. At this period in time where all over the world there's a crisis, there's an economic crisis, and everybody is trying to pull themselves out of crisis. In our own situation, it is a double whammy in the sense that we have already been hosting the highest number of poor people, so we're already in a ditch. To push it further down is a difficult thing. You have a position, everybody is doing also stimulus now, package to pull their people out of where countries like our neighbor Ghana are asking people not to pay for electricity for this period. So many other countries are doing the same thing. More developed countries like Europe are doing lots of things. Look at what is happening in the UK now. They are paying people unemployed, employed people, their salaries for a few months, and they even announced that owners of restaurants, you can now go into a restaurant in the UK and eat and pay only 50%. Only 50% of your bill. Just encourage the front owners to start business again. Transporters are being encouraged. In Nigeria, there's no physical stimulus. The monetary stimulus put in place is very short, and on top of that, you're allowing a price increase at the time government should have done everything to make sure it does not come into place. It is the timing that is wrong.
Well, you are saying that is the timing that is wrong, but government is also saying that, look, Nigeria has a revenue problem. Nigeria also has a debt problem. And we need loans, we need support from the international community. And we're asking for loan from the IMF, the World Bank. The World Bank is giving conditions. Shouldn't the people themselves be prepared to make some kind of sacrifice? Because it looks like, civil society organizations, labor unions, and others do not want to make that sacrifice. Instead, people are saying government has not done what it should do. What should government do? Maybe previously or maybe now.
Reuben has been part of government, has served in government. The people have made enough sacrifice. The people that we should be sacrificing is we, the politicians. We cannot continue to live in a rascally way, spending money irresponsibly, stealing the money and asking the people to sacrifice. They sacrifice a lot. They want everybody to be part of the sacrifice. Even nobody will be sacrificing at this stage when they see the convoys moving on, when they see people flying around in private jets, when they see people living a life that is far beyond the country's needs. We don't have a debt problem. What we have is that people want to see the money that is borrowed put into production. The country cannot go on with this present consumption economy. If you borrow money and put it into production, the economy will grow, people will have jobs, things will be better. Even the revenue you're talking of, the more you pull out people out of poverty, the more is the revenue. This is not a rocket science. It's been all over the world. So what with people that need to sacrifice now, those of us in government, we need to cut down the irresponsible expenditure of government. There's too much waste in governance. We need to turn the economy to the private sector led, where money, funds, have to be spent judiciously and has to be productive.
Well, Mr. B, there are some people who argue that yes, we have crude oil in abundant quantity, and we export crude oil, and yet we're paying so much for something that we have in Nigeria in abundance. And some people will go for that and say, look, maybe what we need to do is to get the refineries to work. In the last audit of the NNPC, it was seen that the refineries were even running at a loss. Do you think that if there is reform, would that make a difference?
You know the refineries cannot work. Before the refineries will work, the politicians will work. We are unproductive country. That is why you will see there's no other country in the world where what is happening here will be happening and you expect anything to work. We live in a consumption economy. There's people who live off the confusion of those refineries not working. Because when they work, there's a production, things will start working, and people who live off the confusion. That's why I said the people that need to make sacrifice now, the people that need to be honest, is really politicians. Now need to sacrifice. Now need to look at people and say, we can't go on like this. So the people and children anarchy, it cannot continue.
Well, but Mr. Obi, what will you say to the 79 organizations and the NLC and the various groups who say they are going to take to the streets? Isn't there a better way of engaging government? And what should government do to prevent that kind of breakdown?
For me, it's to advise government to listen to them as quickly as possible and start doing the right things. It is no longer time for us to be talking. People need to see the action. People need to see the behavior and conduct of public officials change.
But isn't it the fact that sometimes the public just refuses to listen to government? Take the service reflective tariffs in the electricity sector. Government is saying, look, yeah, you get electricity, but pay the right amount. But the discos themselves are fighting, even when they say people are not paying. Yes.
Reuben, it is not at this time. People already going through difficulties. Businesses have collapsed. Another of a hotel, a 20-room, 30-room hotel. So many people have small businesses, have got their business shut down in 3, 4, 5 months. And then, as they are just opening up, not even knowing where to be able to meet up their obligations. Some of them have debts, some of them have workers. Rather than support them, you are imposing more deals on them. You're doing this everywhere in the world. Small businesses, big businesses are being supported everywhere in the world. Even with one efforts in all of other countries of the world. So what we need to do is that any time the people need support of government, it is now. The any time government should sacrifice, it is now. And I can tell you, I've been in that system. There are things you need to sacrifice and you meet up the obligation.
Well, Mr. B, recently the President of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, defined 9 priority areas that he will address and devote time, resources, energy to. And central to this is education, addressing the infrastructure deficit, and also, above all, poverty, which has been further deepened by the crisis of COVID-19. So you can see from the President an expression of good faith. But the question remains, how do we deal with this challenge of poverty, of deprivation, that many Nigerians are complaining about?
Reuben, Nigerians are tired of rhetoric. We have spoken this since independence. What we want to see is action. What we want to see is, if you say education is going to work, let's see how it is working. We can have been in the government. We have met a dilapidated educational system where we were number 26, 27 in Wakaneko. And I said, I will not leave this condition this way. And everybody saw it. All the schools changed, their buildings changed, everything. It's a simple thing, it's not a rocket science. It's done all over the world, Reuben. It's done all over the world. I give this example every day. Between 2000 and year 2015, China pulled 439 million people out of poverty. That is twice the population of Nigeria. So was India in 3 years, India pulled 270 million people out of poverty. We've been saying we're going to do this. Let us see 5 million pulled out. We're talking about creating more jobs, people are getting more unemployed. Factories are shutting down, businesses are shutting down, and we're busy saying, we will do this, we will do this. No, we want to see action. Even behavior, what to see it. What we need to focus on, Reuben, is our economy. Countries are grouped by economy. When you see G7, G20, we use most of the South American countries used to have the crisis we're having today. Whether it's Brazil, Mexico, they are still grappling with it, but they've been able to reduce it by focusing on their economy. It can be done. China has done it, India is doing it, Vietnam. I can go on and show you countries that have doubled their GDP, their per capita, within the past 5-10 years. So what we need now is to get our economy to work, to get a proper size. With COVID-19 now, we're entering the second recession. I'm sure by end of this second quarter, by end of this month, we're going to go into a recession. And it will be a worse recession than we faced in 2016. So within 4 years, our country is going to recession twice. And this is going to be worse. Why is it going to be worse? In 2016, we found money everywhere and we borrowed it, but instead of investing it, we consumed it. Now we're borrowing it because, like you mentioned, the most stringent ways our revenue has depleted, servicing of the one we have consumed is becoming difficult. So it's going to be more difficult. The masses are going to be thrown into more poverty. And then you're hitting them with increases in tariffs and this and that. Stuff.
Well, Mr. B, it's good you mentioned the status of the economy at the moment. Even interest rate is down to 1.25%. People may not be encouraged to save. The economy has contracted by 6.1%. Food inflation is galloping. But how do we deal with this? The standard excuse is to say COVID-19. Yes.
What I'm saying, we're not focusing on the right thing. The small people that have small savings of say, I know people who have been able to save an average of 1 million, 2 million, 3, 4, and 5 million, up to 10 million. We used to make 10% of this money. Now, you have dropped it to 1%. At the time, inflation is 12.8%. Reuben, how can you have inflation at 12.8% and you tell somebody to keep his money at 1%? His life savings of civil servants who has just saved 5 million naira, who used to get 500,000, which if you divide it, is about 14,000 naira a month, plus their little income to make a living. Remember that the time they used to get 10%, say in 2014 or 16, they get 10%. At that time, a bag of rice was 8,500. Now, the figure is against 10%. A bag of rice is already 20,000. What is even worse, you now reduce it to 1%. So 1% of 5 million is now 50,000. So what is it? So that means, and the rice has gone up to 25,000. So the entire saving can only buy 2 bags of rice. These are things we need to look at. So it's not the same thing to say we want lower interest rate, we want lower interest. Yes, everybody wants lower interest rate, but what we need to do is to ensure that the economy becomes productive. If the economy is productive, people still borrow money in so many countries that are doing well, that I can refer to at 15-20%. I'm of the opinion that interest rate should not be anything more than 20%. And then savings should not be anything, it should be between 5 and 10%. So people can also earn money, because there's some pensioners who have their life income on savings and take little money from there to be able to live. So we have to look at all this. And these are the people at the lower side of the ladder. We can't just continue what the government wants, what the big people want. The people who are borrowing now, it's not the government.
Well, but Mr. Obi, in all of this, the most aggrieved persons are young Nigerians, the people we usually describe as the leaders of tomorrow. Now, many of these young persons are saying that the older generation, and I'm sure you are part of that generation, that generation has disappointed them, and they are aggrieved. They say they are not even allowed to have a say in the matter. Now, how do we mobilize this creative energy, the enthusiasm of young Nigerians to move this country forward?
We better agree with them. We have over 20 million young people in their productive age doing nothing. That is unacceptable by any nation. But those young people should also make the sacrifice to ensure that the right people are voted into office. It is not about they are taking over or they are being in charge. It is making sure that the right people are voted into office. I've said it. We have young people. We've all started in, and when I started being governor, I can be transferred as a young person. I was 40, 42, young. So many people have ruled Nigeria. Every person that is young, even if you look at those who say they're young today, are not better than those who are older. What we need to do is to insist that the right people are there. In America, for example, the biggest economy, the biggest democracy, yes, the best democracy, not the biggest, because India is the biggest democracy, but the better. If you go there, the last governor of California, Jerry Brown, was 80, was 79, 80. The two people who are contesting to the president in America today are in their next, I would say, the next 70. So now Trump, who is going for second tenure, will be starting at about 75, 76. Biden, who is on the other side, if he gets elected, will start at 78. But they are talking about people who have the capacity, the competence to be able to drive the process. What you need is somebody with capacity and competence and can understand, have a bit of knowledge of what the whole problem is all about. So they're the youths, knowing fully well that these are Jews we are doing today to our nation, will take his revenge on them, have to work hard to ensure that the right people are voted. They have the energy, they have the resources to do that.
Well, Mr. Obi, I still have so many questions for you before we start taking interventions from our listeners. But there's a question I would have loved to ask you. This is about politics. I'll still come back to economic issues. This morning, I read a piece written by a gentleman who is a columnist in the Vanguard newspaper. And he was saying that where are the Igbos in this race towards 2023? His name is Dr. Ugoji Egbujo, and his piece is titled 2023, Igbos in the PDP are sleepwalking. He says, where are the Igbos? They are too silent, they are too quiet. Where is your Aneze? In 2019, you were a vice presidential candidate to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And the gentleman asked the question, what is Peter Obi waiting for? Is he waiting to be a running mate again? And there's something in road there, Mbano. I don't know what that means. Mbano, maybe it means he doesn't want that. And he says Igbos should wake up. He asked further, why can't the PDP reciprocate the love Igbos have shown and field Peter Obi or present Okonjo Iweala? These are questions for you from the political side, and that article is available. If you Google it, it's written by Ugoji Ebujo, in a column titled Frank and Fair. But we'll take a short break now. When we return, you have the opportunity to talk about 2023 Igbo presidency and your own plans.
City 1051 FM.
105.1 FM. And our guest, as you already know, if you are just joining us, in case you don't know, is Mr. Peter Gregory Obi, former governor of Anambra State, former chairman of the Securities Exchange Commission, chairman of many boards, banker, politician, businessman, entrepreneur, and a Christian, and a very humble man and winner of many awards. Mr. B, thank you for still staying with us. I had asked you a question earlier on referencing a piece that was published today in one of Nigerian's newspapers, in which the question was posed, where are the Igbos in the PDP? Dr. Ebujo Ugoji asked. And he asked, what is Peter Obi waiting for? Are you waiting to be another running mate in 2023?
Reuben, let me help you. I'll try and get the paper and read it. I've already paper today. But let me assure you, when people are doing their own bit, like for me in particular, I don't think this is the time for that conversation. The world, I say it again, Nigeria is 2-3 years away from election. Your preoccupation now is how to save and ensure that the country as an ongoing concern is there and doing well. We need to talk about people who are poor now. We need to talk about people suffering. We need to talk about this and all that. And I'm sure there might be people who are interested. And again, like you said, he talks about this issue of PDP reciprocating what the Igbos have done to them and everything. These are all that is going to be put into consideration when the time comes. For me in particular, wherever I found myself is God's wish. And I can assure you, I'll do my best to see that we'll build a better Nigeria. Where we are today is not where we should be. And I believe that we must do something drastically to give people hope. Nigerians are in a state of hopelessness. It cannot continue.
Well, Mr. Obi, people would like to know what your plans are for 2023. Yes, you've made a patriotic statement about the urgency of now.
Not now. Not now.
Okay. You don't want to disclose anything so that you don't let the cat out of the bag. But in a matter of 2 minutes, we'll start taking calls from our listeners. And the number to call is 0700-1051-1051 here on 105.1 FM, City FM. I repeat the number, 0700-1051-1051. And our guest remains Mr. Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, former vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2019 general elections. But before we start taking the calls, Mr. Obi, let me ask you something that should be of interest to you as a businessman. In Ghana, we've been having issues. Nigerian traders have been having issues. And the Speaker of the House of Representatives has just been in Ghana. and he met with legislators, our own legislators. They met with the lawmakers in Ghana. And at the end of the day, President Nana Akufo-Addo gave an assurance that Ghana will take a second look at Section 28 of the GIPC Act of Ghana, which states the condition that for you to do business in Ghana as a foreigner, you must pay 36,200 cedis and $1 million. But at the same time, the Ghanaians are saying that Nigeria, in closing its borders in August 2019, abused ECOWAS protocols and the protocol particularly on the free movement of goods and persons and services. To reciprocate, what should Nigeria do if Ghana goes ahead and tries to be nice to us? Should we also open our land borders? Something that Nigeria says is very important for economic sustainability in terms of the closure, that is.
Reuben, I have reacted to the issue in Ghana immediately on the day. You can go and look at my Twitter handle and everything, and believe that I reacted to it before anybody, even before the government of Nigeria reacted to it. I reacted to it immediately because I think it's wrong, and I appeal to government to intervene and make sure within the ECOWAS that we're not treated like this. Women, you can start business. I don't know whether regulation or that can talk about what is happening in Ghana, but I believe that ECOWAS have some protocols and agreements that should not have allowed us and our people to be treated like that. On issue of border closure, I made my comment. It's all in my Twitter and the way I said, yes, we probably would have done it initially for a purpose which we think is very important to our economy, but to prolong it is also affecting our own people. Many manufacturers can no longer export their own goods to those neighboring countries. An issue of trying to close border or shutting your shop, it is not a process. You can put out regulations that can make these things work. If we do the proper sacrifice, we can do all that without even pushing to the level where we are now. But I thank government that they're not intervening and seeing reason in it, because no Nigerian, especially those who are hardworking and productive, should be allowed to suffer anywhere on the surface of the earth. It is duty of government of Nigeria to protect Nigerians outside and inside Nigeria. It is their duty to ensure that Nigerians perform very well in what their ability, sacrifice, hard work, and talent can allow them to achieve.
Well, Mr. Obi, before we begin to take calls from our listeners, I would still ask one more question, but I have before me on Twitter a response to a comment you made earlier by Owuade Olaoluwa, who tweets at Olaolu Owuade 1. And he says, magnificent and quality leadership is not about young or older generation. It's about the personality involved. Because there are some values you have to unleash in the course of it. Ask me. Then he goes further. He says, guess what? At Peter Obi at City 105.1 just alluded to the statement above. I think we all need to wake up and smell the cookies. The people are hurting and the government is not listening. Action is what we want to see with a sincerity of purpose. We need to at least stay alive. So Owuade Olaoluwa there agrees with you that action, result, productivity is what is required. But before we take the first call, I would like to ask you about certain policies, since we're now talking about trade. The Central Bank of Nigeria recently introduced a policy to remove third parties from accessing its SMIS Forex window through Form M Forex purchases. And the policy, we were told, is to ensure prudent use of foreign exchange resources, and then to eliminate overpricing, transfer pricing, and avoidable costs that could be transferred to the average Nigerian consumer. Some people have criticized this. They say it will cripple the supply chain system because the bulk of the players in that window are small businesses that will need third parties for them to be able to do transactions with the original suppliers. Do you agree with that, or do you think that this is a good move that does not in any way negate business continuity and sustainability?
You know, what I want to see and always maintain to see, let our policies be geared at helping small businesses. Small businesses are engine of any nation. Small people are critical to support. We have 7 million small businesses in Nigeria that are not properly supported, and policies are not geared at supporting. So for me, is it for the interest of small businesses? I don't think so. So it is critical that you support small businesses. Go all over the nation, including ours. Small businesses are actually contributing to over 50% of our GDP. That's why I'm worried about all this increase in tariffs, because it affects them more. Already the banks, the monetary policies are not supporting them. Because if you look at the loans through the banks, of about 18, 20 trillion loans that the banks are giving, less than 5% go to small business. If you look at the support, even the support, government said, as small as it is, the government said they are going to bring out as stimulus both the physical and the monetary resources. The only thing that is there for small business is 50 billion naira, which is less than 5% again of the 2.3 trillion, which is nothing compared to the number of this business and their contribution to the economy. So these are things we should always look at. If we want to pull people out of poverty, if we want to do this, this is the area we must focus.
Okay, well, if you are listening with us, we've been having a conversation on City Talks with Reuben Abati, with Mr. Peter Obi, former vice presidential candidate on the platform of the People's Democratic Party in the 2019 general elections. Now, Mr. Obi is here and is ready to take more comments, more questions and interventions from our listeners. And the number to call is 0700 1051 1051. If you have a question for him, he's available.
Good afternoon, Mr. Abati and Mr. Peter Obi, and thank the station for giving one this opportunity. So, the country in Nigeria is like a house built on a false foundation. We are talking about too much power being concentrated in the center. And now, this government wants to control the community police from Abuja, wants to control the water in my backyard. But when you go to a place like US, what you will be hearing is Port of Miami, Port of Houston, Port of Galveston, the busiest airport in the world, Atlanta Airport, is being controlled by the county. The Nigerian thing is that as long as we allow some clubs of people to hold our destiny in their hands, we are not going to make any progress. So Nigerians should just agitate for, and this government has promised Nigerians decentralization of power. But since they get into office, they just keep acquiring more powers. You know, making laws that will make me and you not to say what is in our minds. Thanks for the opportunity. Good afternoon. Those are the problems.
Well, thank you, sir. But just before you go, we'd like to know your name and your location.
I'm so sorry. My name is Chiu Sanda. By the way, I'm like 67. I have seen government in Nigeria, but I have not seen the type we are in today. I'm being honest with you. And I so pity the children that we are producing today. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Obi heard you very clearly.
Thank you.
He called about federalism, centralization.
I assure you that you were 100% correct. These are what I'm talking about, being private sector led, and issues we've talked about restructuring. If you have a system that is not working, all you need to do is to change it. The system we have today is not working. And it's not working because it is designed for consumption. It's not designed for productivity. That is why you have even all our airports not breaking even. They are breaking losses. In 3 years, all the airports cumulatively have made the country to lose 40-something billion naira instead of making money. Because that wrongly, there's no reason why an airport in Lagos should not be at most run by Lagos State government. So it's in Enugu, anyone. One, it will make it more effective. Functionality will be more guaranteed and everything, unlike today. So I agree entirely with you. What we need to do is to change it from consumption to production.
Well, looks like we have another caller on the line. Hello. Please, let's have your name and your location and then your comment or question. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Yeah, please, could you turn down the volume of your radio?
Okay.
Yes. Your name, your location, and then your question for Mr. Peter Obi.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Okay, we lost that caller. Maybe someone else will come along. But Mr. Obi, the last caller raised a question. Okay, someone is there. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good afternoon and welcome to City Talks.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good afternoon to you, Dr. Reuben Abati. Improve the economy. Is he not going to say this government is bold? When you look at electricity challenges, the fact that we are pricing electricity below production rate. How can productivity increase when prices do not reward productivity? This is my question for Mr. Peter Obi.
Well, Mr. Obi has heard you and he will respond.
I think I listened to you very much. Thank you very much. If you listen to me when I started, I said that I believe in market forces and I believe that people should pay the right price. So, whatever they've done, don't forget this has been done in the past. It was done in the past, and most call it now, people who are involved in today's government protested against it. So I would say they are bold because they actually protested it when that bold decision was taken. However, I believe in it yesterday. I believe in it today. All I said is that the timing is wrong. The government would have paid that difference as a stimulus. For me, yes, put the right tariff, both in petroleum and everything, but if at any time the country needs subsidy, even for 2-3 months, it is now. Ghana is paying the right tariff, but they said nobody will pay in these 3 months. Other countries, I can name them, he said people should not pay. I just said that in England, they want people to go back to support the farm farmers. If you eat, they pay 50% of it. This is temporary to ensure that businesses come back alive. That's what I'm saying. So I support the move, but you want to do something to ameliorate the suffering which COVID-19 has put your people into.
Well, thank you, Mr. Obi there. Well, we have another caller on the line, right? Hello.
Reuben Abati.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on City Talks.
Okay, thank you very much. That was an oversight on my part. Thanks for the correction.
Oh, okay. You spoke earlier. Yes. I said it was chapter 2, section 14.
Yes, of course, it is chapter 2, section 14, subsection 2, paragraph 2.
Yes.
When we look at all the economic indicators that speak to the health, the economic health of the country, we realize that Nigeria has fallen short. We look at the debt service to revenue ratio. We look at the inflation, which poses a threat to the purchasing power of the average Nigerian. We look at our debt profile. We look at the level of unemployment in the country as it speaks currently. We begin to realize that economically, Nigeria cannot be said to be healthy at the moment. And you and I know that the economy is a substructure. When the substructure is threatened or weakened, of course, you realize that even the superstructure cannot stand. I believe that we are a country that pays more attention to the superstructure, which is the politicking and the entire issues related to governance. And we have failed. The leaders, the ruling class have failed to give due consideration to what constitutes the fundamentals of economic management. It will be in the interest of the ruling class to seek to address all of these issues and to ensure that the people, are not brought under the brutal heels of economic hardship. Because you and I know that there are sociological consequences, of the economic implications of all of this. And you and I do not want such consequences because it will constitute a threat to social order and peace, in this country. We are given the development in the country today. You and I need to, restrict our deliberations within the confines of reason to not be seen as, speaking against or being antagonistic against the ruling class. But truth must be told. Things are not right. The president predicated his campaign on a tripod, which was, security, anti-corruption and economy. Today, can we say that the economy is in a better state, relative to what it was in the previous administration? Can we say that comfortably? You and I know what, the answer to that question is. Nigerians are not happy with the way things are going. The responsibility is on the hands of this economic manager to bring us out of this quagmire. And I hope they will do that soon, so that the people can be prosperous and this nation can move to the El Dorado that we envisage. Thank you, Dr. Reuben Abati. Thank you, sir.
It's like you are on all fours with all the submissions made earlier by Mr. Obi. But Mr. Obi, would you like to respond to that?
Okay, let me just make a comment. First is to thank him. What he said is the correct thing. He started by talking about issue of security. And I want to say there's two types of security. The most important security is the natural security, which is ensuring that the people are cared by the society. They're employed, they have a means of livelihood. That is the first security. The more unemployment you have, the more insecure your country or your nation is. The more employment, the more secure you are. So I agree entirely with him. And I agree about what he said about the superstructure and the substructure. I said it earlier. Countries are grouped by economy. Now they have G7, G12, G20. The reason why Nigeria has not been part of any of this group is because our economy is not working. And I'm sure that soon they have G30 or G40, which we might not make because our economy is headed south. We have the highest number of people living under poverty. Even with the two biggest or most populous countries combined. So we need to work on it aggressively. But we can only do this by ensuring that you have the right leadership. What we are going through now is cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. Over the years, it is not we don't have one or two people, even in this government, who have a knowledge who are doing things right and everything. But almost 75% of those of us who are in politics, for local government to state to national, are totally incompetent. They lack the capacity. So unless you start ensuring that you have people with capacity who knows what the problem is all about, You know, Reuben, to perform in Nigeria, for example, you want to be a star, is that you go to Abuja, they give you money, you do roads, maybe please some people, paint some, put street lights, and buying vehicles for maybe pray for that, all kinds of things, and then you become a star. That is not development. There's a measure of development universally that is accepted, HDI, Human Development Index. That is education, health, and reduction of poverty. And there's a route to do this. And that's what I'm saying, that we need to have people who have a knowledge of what we require, have the competence. You cannot be in a Formula 1 competition and you go and take a motor driver. That's what we have done. Now, these vehicles and all these things we see all over the place, we have hired people who are incompetent across the political class.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Obi. On that note, we'll now begin to wind down. But I'll leave our listeners. I thank you very much for joining us in this conversation with Mr. Peter Gregory Obi, Peter the Rock. With the quote, I'll leave you with a quote from Socrates. Smart people learn from everything and everyone. Average people from their experiences. Stupid people already have all the answers. Obviously, in Nigeria, we don't have all the answers. We should learn from other people's experiences, from experiences in other jurisdictions, and maybe perhaps by keeping an open mind, all of us, governors, leaders, and the people will get it right. Stay safe, be good, remain blessed. We'll see you again next week on City Talks with Reuben Abati, 105.1 FM. Thank you.
City 1051 FM.